So as a World of Warcraft player, I have a few things to say about balance. How important is balance in a game, especially an MMORPG, a world being played and shared by millions of people and more? Is balance something game companies should strive for with all their efforts to ensure the goodwill of the player base and that they would participate and compete against other players and get more fun out of it? Is that true? World of Warcraft is one of the best balanced games in my opinion of all the games I have come across and played extensively, and yet I cannot vouch for the game being one of the best for PvP. But how does that make sense? Well, let me put it this way. Because of the overfocus of Blizzard on class balance and how every class has almost the equal chance of competing at the highest level and that each brings utility that other classes share, it renders the PvP environment sterile, if that makes sense. That means the PvP scene can be reduced down so much that perhaps a specialized bot could destroy all the competition in the game. And yet, players complain so much about balancing games. What's up with that? Could they have been wrong? Well, not exactly wrong and not right either. The thing is, players are not game designers. It's not their job to think in the long term for the health of the game. Their job is to have fun in the present. And that means they have a much heightened desire for instant gratification than, say, a game designer or developer testing his own game. And to ask, perhaps for a hotfix/balance that would catapult a player's current class to the forefront of the PvP scene would bring a lot of gratification to the said player, at the cost of other players playing other classes as well as the integrity of the game development team. What I mean is, if a game development team just caters to the loudest in the room, but not the majority in the room, they are making a game go in the direction for the worse. There's no way around it. And that a perfect balance is not even that great anyway. As the saying goes, be careful what you wish for. A game, instead of striving for perfect balance, should strive for complete player owners, meaning that the result of a gameplay should be as much of a player's responsibility as possible. Think about games like Pokemon, which has a pretty large PvP player base if you didn't know, or Yu-Gi-Oh, or MOBAs in general. These games are, in my opinion, much worse in terms of in-game balance compared to WoW, and yet they receive much less criticism on the sole basis of it. Why? Well, the one thing these games have in common is the endless possibilities of variables and combinations. Pokemon has 700 plus different monsters you can pick to put in your team, each with different stats and skills combinations that you can alter by yourself, or Yu-Gi-Oh with their deck combinations and infinite strategies. But World of Warcraft has only 12 classes with a very similar skill set between each of them. And so on the surface, WoW is and should be much easier to balance, and yet they receive the most criticism for it, because the outcome of gameplay is so little in the control of the player as compared to Blizzard and the developers who can change the PvP landscape on a whim/hotfix. Even according to the current PvP players, the state of PvP was at its most fun in Wrath of the Lich King, where you could have the legendary weapon that could warp the arena scene in favor of those who participated in PvE extensively. So even though Wrath of the Lich King did not have the best balance in all of the expansions, not even close I might say, it was still one of the most fun, because players could grind for a game-breaking legendary, and because players can use their wit and smart to craft a strategy in combination with PvE bonuses and trinkets that may not have been intended for PvP gameplay. But now every class feels the same and there's no uniqueness to them. PvP very much feels restricted and babysitted because the potential for thinking outside the box is much lower, which is pretty much in all games one of the most fun things you can do. If I were a World of Warcraft developer, the last thing I would do is take agency away from the players. taking away skills, buffs, and all other variables that will make the game infinitely more colorful and complex. Instead, I would add more classes, not one, not two. How about 10 or 20? And also, I would make the aiming of a player target much more of a factor than the current game is. So to hit a target, not only do you need to be in line of sight, the trajectory of your fireball should also matter, meaning it should also land in the face of your target. With better aim deals better damage. And get rid of the global cooldown. Players should be rewarded for quick thinking, and the blanket 1-second GCD kills that. There are many other things I could add here, but I'm sure you have more to add as well. So tell me what you think on the concept of balance in general, as well as suggestions you would make to a particular game to make it more fun. Leave them in the comments down below, and as always, subscribe for future videos. I very much appreciate it. This is Omni Gamer, thank you and peace out.